some props to look at on the DK Sportsbook. And Edlow, we're going to begin with you. Celtics, they are plus 140 going into this series. Road underdogs in game one. We were going back and forth a little bit on Twitter earlier in the week when you were saying you didn't hate the spot, actually, for Boston to maybe jump in and surprise Golden State a little bit. But when I agreed with you, you second-guessed yourself. You have to decide now how much you do or don't hate this.
Yeah, I mean, when you're on board with my contrarian take, it definitely makes me think twice about it and consider that I might be on the wrong side. But the Celtics, I think the perception is probably that they're going to split these games in Golden State. And then the perception is probably that they'll split again in Boston because the Celtics have been much worse at home than they have on the road. And the Warriors are just a good team. But as it pertains to game one, the idea that this could be like a down spot for the Celtics seems kind of silly to me in game one of the NBA Finals with the most rest that they've gotten since between games 2 and 3 of the Bucks, which was weeks ago. The game one against Miami was a really tough spot. It was coming off a big game 7 win over the Bucks, and then you have to go right down to Miami and play. Then you factor in they're going to be without 2 starters. Marcus Smart they planned for, Al Horford by surprise. They were still up 8 at halftime of that game before the 22-2 run by Miami in the third quarter, and they ultimately dropped that game and then win game 2 in Miami in dominant fashion. I think that this is the game where you want to come in and catch the Warriors off guard. They've been off for a week. The Celtics are close to full strength. Maybe they'll be without Robert Williams, who is certainly dinged up. But the way that I'm playing this one for starters, I've put it in my best bets article on DK Playbook. Celtics plus 1.5 first half. I think they're going to get off to a really good start in this game, maybe a little bit of rust for Golden State. And then who knows if Golden State has its patented third quarter, which has been a struggle for the Celtics at home and where it goes from there. I think it's going to be a good, close game, but I think the Celtics come out and have the better start.
Well, and you basically just described what happened in game one against Miami. Celtics got off hot against the Heat, and then obviously it all went to hell in the second half there. What do you think, Meiselman? Money line bet on the C's tonight. Feel good about it?
I don't feel great about them winning. I do think there's value, but actually the thing that Julian mentioned first is kind of interesting to me, where this idea that it's not so contrarian to be on the Celtics, I think that's specific to our little DraftKings Boston bubble. And outside of that, most people like the Warriors for the series, for the game, for everything. So don't be nervous, Julian, that Kaufman is with you on this contrarian take. He's a Celtics fan. Like, we're all just going to like the Celtics. So it's still contrarian despite the fact that he's in on it. But as far as the specifics for the game, I am a little concerned about Robert Williams. And I think that there's a decent chance that he doesn't play. If he does play, I think you take the 3.5 points, you take the money line. I think the first half is a reasonable call, where if the Celtics are a little more fatigued than the Warriors, I think we see that manifest more in the second half of the game than the first half of the game. This is basically what we saw with game one against the Heat, where the Celtics were good in the first half and got tired in the second half. I think that's an overall trend to expect. When a team is more tired, it actually shows up later in the game. So first half, I think, is a reasonable call. I don't know that I'm picking the Celtics outright to win, but I think plus 140 is a value. I'm just not as excited about it if Robert Williams doesn't wind up playing.